It's a very gloomy day, but today we're going to be doing the Pixel 3a versus the OnePlus 6T. The Pixel 3a is actually $100 cheaper around this time, so both of these are mid-tier level. Let's see which one does better in terms of camera performance. This is a low light test of the front-facing camera, and I'm walking in the city in a quiet street, and there are plenty of streetlights above me. They're pretty big, so they're not like little dinky ones on the smaller streets. So yeah, let's move on to the next section. Starting off with the portrait mode, the first thing I notice is the Pixel 3a really zooms in the shot pretty much like an actual portrait lens. The OnePlus 6T is really wide. Some people prefer that way. This is all personal preference, but I noticed that I would have to take a couple steps more closer to the subject just to match with the same frame as the Pixel 3a. In terms of the background blur, I'm leaning towards the Pixel 3a more because I do like the more blurrier look, and you can adjust that afterwards, and I just feel like the separation is just much more apparent than the OnePlus 6T. When it gets dark around nighttime, portrait mode really works well on the Pixel 3a, whereas on the OnePlus 6T you would have to wait or get closer and try to fiddle around within the subject until it says depth effect is ready. For the front-facing camera, I would say the Pixel 3a is a little bit better at HDR and also portrait mode as well. And to my eyes, it looks like the separation between the background blur and the subject is much more cleaner on the 3a. Now, the HDR, I would say the OnePlus 6T seems to have a much better advantage in this category. And when you're looking at the shadows on the OnePlus 6T, it's much more brighter than the Pixel 3a. On the Pixel 3a, it looks pretty contrasty, it's pretty harsh. I would say the OnePlus 6T gives you a more exposed picture overall. Now, in terms of color, I feel like the OnePlus 6T does pop a little bit more. It doesn't scream out at you like OnePlus 6T is way more saturated. You would really need to look at it and take a second glance just to tell like, yeah, OnePlus 6T does pop a little bit more, and you would really need to look for it. For low light photography, the first thing I notice while I'm taking pictures is the performance. On the OnePlus, it does feel a bit more sluggish, and after I hit the shutter button, there is a slight pause. While on the Pixel 3a, it still feels snappy. Onto the quality itself, I'll tell you right now, the Pixel 3a does a much better job in darker areas. There is a greenish tone on the OnePlus 6T photos, especially in the shadows. When you're in a dark area for the Pixel 3a, it does fine, even in normal mode. When you switch to their night modes, there is a huge difference, especially from the OnePlus 6T normal mode to night mode. The night mode does make the whole image brighter, but I feel like it looks really artificial. But if you're in that dark situation and you want a bright picture, then what else can you do? Moving on to 4K video, it looks like to me that the stabilization on the Pixel 3 kind of feels more electronic, kind of like a robot. When I'm moving around, it looks like robotic pans, but it is pretty stable. Both of the stabilization is really good, but one thing I noticed while I'm recording on the OnePlus 6T, it doesn't look like it's stabilized while I'm recording, but when I play it back, it is stabilized. One additional thing the Pixel 3a does not have is 4K 60. OnePlus does have that, and as you can tell, there's no stabilization on the OnePlus, but you do get that 60 frames per second if you need it or have a project that needs to shoot in 4K 60. And in terms of the color saturation, same with the pictures, the OnePlus 6T is a bit more punchier. You can tell by the green on the trees that it does pop out a little bit more than the Pixel. Now for low light videography, of course both of these cameras aren't going to do well in this section. Both of these do have a lot of micro jitters every step of the way, but one thing I do notice is that on the OnePlus, it is more harsher, it is more underexposed, you can't really see as much than the Pixel 3a. If I were had to pick one, I would definitely go with the Pixel 3a just because it gives you more of that exposed image so you can see everything in your video. So both cameras are really good in daytime, but the Pixel 3 really outperforms the OnePlus 6T once it gets to the darker areas at night times, especially when you're in clubs, bars, and any dark situation you're in. So that is my comparison between the OnePlus 6T versus the Pixel 3a. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.